Greetings, everyone. This is Mrs. Baker again, and we are now discussing Book 2 of the Odyssey. And we're looking at the scene of the assembly with Telemachus. Telemachus has been instructed by Athena to call the assembly of the Ithacan people and ask them for help in getting rid of the suitors from his home. Now, the assembly would be made up of the elderly folks who did not go off to war with Odysseus. So they're a bit old, they're a bit tired, but the assembly is kind of a bit of it's almost democratic type of government. You know, it would be the elders of the group trying to come up with policies and whatnot. So Telemachus acts very manly in the very beginning of it, and he tries so hard to do the right thing and to behave well, but he's just not that great of a persuasive speaker yet. Ordering people around, listen to me, they must leave my home. And he doesn't really warm up the crowd really well. And if you read this scene in other versions, in other translations, he gets too emotional, and he almost insults his audience a few times. And we have Antinous, the head suitor, who stands up to Telemachus and says, "No, we will not go home until your mom chooses a new husband, and she's been tricking us with her loom." Now, this gives us a really big indication about Penelope. Few things. One, that she is smart, just like her husband Odysseus, that they are a good match for each other. And two, if she's been tricking them, that means that she doesn't want to get married to anyone else. So this tells us that she is still supportive of Odysseus, and she wants him to come home. Now, the loom, let me tell you about that. In this picture, we have Queen Penelope is sitting in front of her loom. And looms were racks that women used to create cloth, and they would use thread, and they would weave in and out to make long blankets. Now, Penelope's trick of her loom is this. She told the suitors that she would not choose a new husband until she had finished weaving a burial shroud for Odysseus's father. That, if she marries a new husband, there will be no one left to take care of Odysseus's elderly father. And so she says, I need to make this burial shroud first, and then when I finish it, I will choose a new husband. Well, she ends up using this trick for 2 years, I think it is, maybe 3. I have to look up my numbers. And what she does is this. Now, the suitors are a bit distracted, partying and hanging out and having a good old time. So they don't really care, that she's taken so long, because they're having fun. But at night, what she would do is she would unravel all of the work that she did during the day. The suitors would look up in her window, and they would see her, in her window, kind of working on the loom. They could see her working on it, making progress. But then at the nighttime, she would unravel what she had done. And she used this as a stall tactic for a number of years, until one of her maids decided to rat her out. So at this point, the suitors are very unhappy with Penelope, and now they are impatient. Antinous, the head suitor, says, now you're going to make her choose a new husband or send her back. And Telemachus doesn't really quite know how to deal with standing up to the suitors, and he whines and throws the scepter down. Now, protocol would have been that everyone would have held a talking stick or a scepter, and that's what gave them the acknowledgement to speak during the assembly. So it wasn't just like yelling and screaming at each other, that the person would go in front of the crowd with the scepter, hold it, talk, and then when they were done, they would pass the scepter on to the next person to speak. So Telemachus here, doesn't do very good, and then throws them threats at them. Yeah, we'll let the gods rain terror down on you. Now, luckily, Zeus helps out Telemachus at this point, and he does send 2 eagles as a sign, but the Ithacan people have really lost their respect, especially the suitors, and they all try to explain it away like, yeah, whatever, and they don't really put much credence into it. Now, he had asked for a ship, and they don't really want to help him out much. So notice Athena disguises herself as Telemachus and gets the ship and crew for him. This disguise is really important because she's trying to build Telemachus's reputation. She's also doing damage control at this point because his behavior at the assembly is not very becoming of a king. And so she disguises herself so that, you know, she knows how to act appropriately and knows how to ask for a ship appropriately. So then people will think better of Telemachus and just kind of excuse his behavior at the assembly as, you know, his emotions getting the best of him. So she has had 2 disguises so far. She has had the disguise of Mentis Athena. She's disguised herself as Telemachus, and she will also disguise herself as Mentor Athena. And it's no coincidence that the name mentor, that we have our modern day word mentor, you know, as someone who guides and teaches someone else. That comes from this story because Athena is a mentor to Telemachus. You know, back then it was just the name of a person. Well, now it's mentor means someone who guides. So we have some more epithets here. Make sure you highlight them. And Athena sends Telemachus first to go to Pylos. Now, you know, he's unsure of himself. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know how to talk to a king. And what also is good here is that, and again, Athena doesn't do anything by accident. This is all planned. She has a good role model for Telemachus to meet, and that is Nestor's son, Pisistratus. Telemachus can see how Pisistratus behaves appropriately and is very hospitable and respects the gods in offering the sacrifice to them, and things go well. She thinks very highly of Pisistratus. And it's then decided that after Telemachus speaks with Nestor, that they will go see Menelaus to find out more information. And notice Athena leaves Telemachus at this point. She says, oh, I gotta go, and then changes into a bird and flies away. Now, the first time she changed into a bird and flew away, the other suitors did not see it. It was only Telemachus who saw that transformation. But now she transforms in front of everybody else, and Nestor recognizes that the gods have been watching over him and that it is the goddess Athena who is watching over Telemachus, just as she watches over her father, his father, Odysseus. Now, this is, again, important because Athena's strategy here, her plan, is that Telemachus needs to learn how to behave appropriately. He needs good role models, both kings and men his own age. And then he also needs to learn how to identify with his father, because all along he's been very unsure of himself. Oh, people tell me I'm Odysseus' son, but what's the proof? Well, now you have someone who is very respected, King Nestor, who recognizes this. And this is very important for Telemachus to make this connection. All right, so now Telemachus gets to go off on a chariot. He and Pisistratus go to Sparta. Athena's kind of letting him go on his own now to test his skills. And they arrive in Sparta and talk to Menelaus and Helen. This is such a neat scene because you have Menelaus and Helen 9, almost 10 years after the Trojan War has ended, and you get a sense into their relationship and what it's like. It's amicable, they get along well, but there's a little bit of conflict there. And notice it is Helen who looks right at Telemachus and says right off the bat, says, this young man looks like the son of great Odysseus. She doesn't waste any time getting right to the point. Now, again, for Telemachus to have now, these are 2 very well, if not the most infamous people in all of ancient Greece, recognize him as the son of Odysseus. This is pretty powerful for him. They speak to Menelaus, and then we notice we have a change in character from Menelaus. The Menelaus of the Trojan War seems to be replaced with a kinder, more gentler Menelaus. Kind of interesting, I guess, to what death can do to someone, losing everything. That you just wish to have your friends back. All right, so now we have some storytelling between Helen and Menelaus. And I didn't tell you this story in the Trojan War episode, but we still will never know exactly what the truth was. Helen says it was Aphrodite's magic, but we're never really going to know for sure. Of course, she's going to say it was Aphrodite that did it. And then Menelaus is like, yeah, well, honey, you can say all of those things that, you didn't love Paris and you wanted to be back and yes, you helped Odysseus. But I also remember you trying to stop the Greeks and try to sabotage our Trojan horse. Because remember, the guys were hiding inside the belly of the horse. They couldn't see out. And Helen comes down with King Priam and the other Trojans to investigate, and she walks around the horse, calling out the names of each of the heroes inside, likening her voice to the sound of their wives' voices. And think about how much self-control it would take to not jump out of that hiding place and reveal it. But Odysseus, epic task here, kept them all quiet, and they were able to successfully bring the Trojan horse into the city. So he kind of ends it on a little bit of a note like, okay, honey, we're civil to each other, but I didn't forget. But let's go to bed and we'll talk tomorrow about important stuff. So now we have Menelaus tells a story of Telemachus about what he knows about Odysseus's location, and we get the truth that he is caught on an island with Calypso. Now, you may say, well, wait a second, isn't Telemachus going to freak out and be mad at his dad for this? To be on an island with a hot goddess? And it's at this point that no. I mean, realize this script is really short, and I've cut out quite a bit and condensed it. But Telemachus has gone through a process here, and he's able to hear the truth. He can handle the truth now, and he will not freak out about it. So learns the truth, and then he says, come here, stay with me for a long time. Stay with me for 11 days and then go home. But Telemachus says, no, I have to go home again. And again, this whole story of the Odyssey is this reinforcing message that there is no place like home. There's no place like home, just like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. We have then a cliffhanger to this story that the suitors have realized that Telemachus is gone and that they're going to plan an ambush for him. And book 4 concludes with that cliffhanger that we don't know what will happen yet. So to summarize Telemachus's short journey here, he learns how to be a man and he learns how to be a king, as well as to identify with his lost father. And again, Athena wants to make sure that Telemachus will welcome Odysseus home and not kill him. So if you have any questions concerning this overview now of books 2 through 4, please make sure you touch base with me and ask.